Today we have Alan Shen, and he is going to talk to us about the Iranian War and a little history about what happened there. So, could you give us a little history of Iran, the American relationship that we had with Iran, the 47 years ago? What happened, or what was it like before then?
Yeah. So a lot of people have questions about this war going on in Iran. There's, of course, just go on the news and you hear all kinds of things. I just want to say one thing that maybe not a lot of people are talking about is that when you look at this war, to me, I would say this war started in 1979. And here's why. Because when Khomeini invaded the U.S. embassy in Tehran in 1979, November, right? Yeah. So, according to international law, when you invade some country's embassy, that's a declaration of war itself. So technically, they declared war on us in 1979. Just we never had a leader who's got the backbone to respond back. So technically, this is a ongoing war that we finally react to it.
Before 1979, it was November 4th, 1979, that they attacked our embassy. What
Yep.
was the culture like in Iran before that time?
Well, if you have some pictures, videos, which I have seen some, you look at Iran in the 60s and 70s, it looked like 60s and 70s in Europe or here. So
United States.
yeah, I mean, you see women in bikinis running on beaches, guys dressed like in jeans and know what guys used to dress like in the 70s, and none of them covered their faces, and so it looked like Europe or here.
And the women attended schools and
Yep,
colleges
yep,
and
yep,
held jobs, had
yep.
had responsibilities. So the woman's equal rights, they had equal rights just like we do here in America
Yeah, it
at that
was
time.
very westernized, very much like here.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. So then, when that embassy attack happened and the regime changed in
Yep,
Iran,
yep.
how did that change for the people in Iran?
Well, I think it was Khomeini, the guy who was the one who led the Islamic Revolution. I believe he was in the West, and of course, liberal white guys in France and in the U.S. I believe even the government of France were supporting him because he was saying that liberating people, equity, the same talking points as AOC and Bernie. Um, so he got support from the West, but when he overtook the government in Iran and assumed power, all of a sudden he became the enemy of the West. So again, he used same ideologies as like communism, but of course under Sharia law, so it's Islamic revolution, but using the same talking points to excite the youth, like eat the rich, extreme equity, everything equal, take other people's stuff, and liberating everything, right? So, same talking points as Mao,
But
right?
just to back up a minute now, you talk about the youth. Who exactly is the people that attacked the embassy in Tehran?
Well, they were actually the college students. So they were the one who stormed into the American embassy and raided and invaded our embassy and took everyone hostage. You would think it would be his Revolutionary Guards, but it's not. It's the college kids who did it.
So the influence on the young people about the communism and socialism.
Well, it's always easy to influence the young generation for socialist views. I mean, you look at almost every socialist uprising, it's usually the people who follow it are the people in college, usually under 30.
Correct.
Usually. I mean,
Yeah,
not everyone, but mostly.
yeah, and we see that happen today in America with, again, it's the young people being influenced.
Yeah, I mean, you look at even the French Revolution and Paris Commune, that was same ideology, right?
Okay.
And in Mao's China, that it was also the college kids who were just in the front doing everything.
Okay. So you did mention, and there is talk about how China is involved in this, but sort of like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
How is China being influencing Iran, and how is it affecting China?
Well, about 2 decades ago, I want to say, maybe more, China started this initiative called Belt and Road, uh, symbolizing the Silk Road, the trading route from like ninth century, right? So they initiated this pretty much sending out their influence to the world. So Iran, Panama, actually at the time Italy, and Venezuela and many African countries were all their strategic important places China wanted to influence. A lot of them, China just poured a lot of money in building everything, knowing that they can never pay it back. So China would invest a lot of money into many African nations, building everything, roads, bridges. But then, okay, you're heavily in debt to China.
Correct.
So you have to pay back with interest, but knowing that they cannot have the enough money to pay it back, and China would say, "I just lease me your port for 100 years. We will have the right to your oil and minerals for I don't know 50, 100 years,
100 years.
right?" So, so by that, pretty much as a way to say, I put all this money in exchange of the rights to rule parts of your land, your minerals, your oil, and everything. So China gets most of their oil from Iran and Venezuela for the past decades,
Yes,
probably.
yes.
So
The Belt and Road investment, a trade flow through the Middle East, the Silk Road.
yeah,
Back then, it was their trade route from China into the Middle East and influence those
yeah,
areas and those regions. So China is involved. Now, during this stuff that's going on in Iran now with the U.S. and Israel, some of the things that strategically is happening, and maybe I should step back again to talk about what happened in Panama Canal, that a lot of people didn't know about, that
right,
China
right.
had a lot of influence. They controlled ports on both sides of the Panama
Yep,
Canal.
yep, yep.
So that was, again, like you mentioned, Panama, how the President Trump went back and took control back of the Panama Canal. Is that correct?
Right, because when you look at what Trump's doing, every step Trump's doing is strategically hitting China without hitting China, right?
Right.
So, where China has the most influence, China had a lot of influence in Argentina, but the new President Milei, he kicked China out.
Right.
China had a lot of influence in Italy, and Giorgia Meloni came into power, and she kicked China out. And then we had Panama and Venezuela, because China had again a lot of influence and investment in Venezuela, and got the oil from Venezuela for China's use for decades. So now we got Venezuela back from China. So
Right.
every part Trump strikes is actually hitting China. So we can talk about the influence in Iran China has, is that Iran uses all these Chinese radars and missiles and
Okay.
fighter jets, right? So that's why when we see the fighter jets that Iran uh, lost in this war, and there's like a few of the Chinese jets, well, also Russian too, and also Tomcats, F-14s. So that tells you that U.S. and Iran back then were very close allies. We sold them F-14s, the
Right.
Tomcats,
Before 79.
before 79.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So China really does have a big influence on what's happening in Iran even today.
Even today.
And
Yeah.
some of the, you mentioned something about some of the bombing that's been happening, and some officials that are
Chinese
Chinese officials that are
in the bunker.
in the
Yeah,
bunkers. Yeah,
yeah, because we just used our bunker buster to bomb the really deep underground, uh, what do you call it, facility, underground base,
right.
the underground command center. So we just bombed the command center or the base that's underneath a mountain. According to the Taiwanese news that I followed, that there's like something like 400 to 500 Chinese military experts were also in the bunker with the Iranian troops. So then there you go. You can draw the connection there. So a lot of the radars that they use are bought from China. Fighter jets, weaponries,
The
missiles.
missiles they're using
Right.
today.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're all Chinese. So of course they would have the Chinese military experts with them to teach them how to use it. So they were also in the bunker with the Iranian troops.
Interesting. That's very interesting to understand that. And that's something that is not really being exposed to the Americans now as what's going on. It's sort of like it's being hidden from us of the actuality of what's happening and why is it happening? Why now Iran? Why now they're talking about the nuclear bombs that they could be developing and whatnot, but it's more than just that.
That's more than just that, of course. I mean, in this war, like we mentioned earlier, it started in 1979 when they declared war on us by invading the embassy. So now it's just ongoing, and then behind Iran, it's China. So with all the Chinese military people they lost in Iran, China can't say anything about it in the public. So it's like, okay, well, they cannot admit that they are actually behind Iran
Right.
supporting the war, so they can't really publicly announce it. So it's really hitting China where it hurts.
Right. And then you also mentioned earlier in our conversation before this meeting, um, some of the generals in China.
Oh yeah,
What has happened there? That's kind of surprising for us to hear.
yeah. The top military personnel in China just kept disappearing. We just saw the news, right? I mean, many of the military officials are equivalent like army secretary or commander in chief. The highest level of generals in China just disappeared. She accused this latest one, Zhang Youxia. He was like the number one in command of Chinese military, right beneath Xi. He disappeared, and Xi accused him of being a CIA agent. I don't know true or not, but he just sacked him or purged him. But Xi did not. That's information he told to the Western media, but to the Chinese people, he did not say that. But again, if your top general is a CIA guy, wouldn't you also tell your own people about that?
Correct. So it's interesting how that is laid out, and you say purged or go into the black hole. We really don't know what happened to them.
Yeah,
Were they the ones that maybe were in the bunker at the time, or no?
we don't
Or
know.
we don't
We
know.
don't know because those information, of course, China is not going to release, but they could be in the bunker because China just purged another top military scientist who developed the Chinese stealth fighter. He got purged. I think his name is Yang Wei. So uh, he was also like a Chinese astronaut. So all of a sudden he disappeared,
Interesting.
and no one knows where he went.
Okay, so let's go back to Iran in 1979. The Prince of Iran, Pahlavi,
Prince Pahlavi. So
Pahlavi,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, Pahlavi, explain to us and the people out here what his role was at the time and who he actually is before 79 and what happened in 79 and where he's at today.
So before the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran, like the country was very free, very open. Women wore dresses, right? Didn't cover up anything. And it was a close ally to the US. I
Right.
mean, we sold them F-14s, right? So life was like very much like Europe. So, and Khomeini just had this Islamic revolution and took the country, I would say, back in time. So, what was the focus question again?
Who was this prince and
Oh,
his
yeah.
influence? And then what happened to him? What when that embassy was attacked? Where did he go? Where did the prince go?
Well, they had a king.
A king?
So, but under the king, I mean, everyone was living freely,
Correct.
right? And pretty much Khomeini outcast the king, and the prince was in exile. So the young prince, I think he went to New York, and now I think he's a doctor, right? He's a doctor in New York. So he's the prince of Persia, not Iran. Just like when I meet anyone from Iran here, they almost never say I'm Iranian. They always say I'm Persian. So they don't want to associate with the country Iran. They always say they're like from Persia, like they're Persian.
They're a Persian culture. They're a Persian
Right.
people. I don't know why it changed to Iran. It's just the name of the country, and they were just a Persian people.
They were, I mean, even before 79, I think the country was still called Iran. It's just they don't want to associate with the current Iran,
Okay.
the current country of Iran,
Okay.
right? So they call themselves Persians to say that they don't want to have anything to do with the current Iranian government. And this prince, I think he announced that he would be willing to go back to the country of Iran to do the transition into a free and democratic republic. And people in the country love this guy. I think he's got really good name recognition,
Mm-hmm.
very well respected. And he does a podcast thing, I think. And a lot of people in Iran secretly listen to his podcast. So again, it's illegal in the country, just like YouTube's illegal in Iran or China, right? So by using probably VPN, that's my guess, so they can listen to his podcast. So I think he would be a great person, in my view, to do the transition for the country. So a bright future could be at the doorstep for Iran and all the Persian people.
So that could be the plan that's going on, and that could be part of
It could be.
President Trump's initiative of what's going on there. Very interesting concept, very interesting facts, I should
Yeah.
say, leading into that where that would go. So just in review of what's going on with the Iranian war, I guess a lot of people are saying, is it a war or not? And you're saying because of what happened in 1979, it actually was a declaration of war.
Yeah.
We finally have a president that's saying, okay, now we're going to stand up to this.
Right.
And then also behind the scenes, he's actually going after China and China's influence
Yep.
in the world. That's out
Yep.
there, Panama, Venezuela, no Iran,
Yeah. And Cuba.
and Cuba. Now we're
Yeah.
talking about Cuba, and then also there's talk about Greenland too. And I'm not sure if China had an influence on that, if it was more.
I'm not surprised if China wants Greenland. I mean, again, like strategically, what Trump's doing is taking away Chinese allies and make them into our allies, like Venezuela. I think with the new Venezuela government, U.S. will go there with influence and pull Venezuela as an ally to the U.S.
Correct.
And Iran, we can get Iran back as an ally, just like how they were our ally before 79.
Correct.
And Panama. So next one would be Cuba. So we're picking all these friends of China one by one in the world, and China will lose oil and minerals and a lot of influences and land and ports around the world. So I think it's really hitting China without hitting China. So that's a grand plan overall, I believe.
Yes, I believe so too. Now after talking to you, it sounds great. Is there any last words that you have about what you see in the future for this? Because we do see people in Iran, they're
Yeah,
celebrating
they're celebrating.
what's going on, but any
Well,
more
they're celebrating Los Angeles, New York, Chicago.
so any more insight into what you think about this Iranian and China and our uh, war with Iran? Any more last comments to bring it wrap
Well,
it up?
I would hope the war will finish very soon. I don't want it to be another Afghanistan or Iraq. So quickly we can conclude the war, finish it, and put the prince back to do the transition and transition it back to a free republic or democratic republic, and then Iran will become a close ally, and so will Venezuela. And we see that it's on the horizon for Cuba. And so if we make Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, Panama all to our into our influence and become our friends, um, it would be very much a ouch for China. And I don't know who's next. Maybe Taiwan. We'll do something with Taiwan.
In how Trump is sort of pulled out of NATO, that just come to mind how that is working out. It's
Well,
another
yeah, for NATO, it's like the NATO allies aren't paying into the military. It's always the US protecting everyone else. And I almost feel like, well, NATO was there to stand up to USSR.
right,
And USSR fell apart in 91.
right,
And uh, I think I would support the idea that US builds strategic military alliance with individual countries,
correct,
like with Japan, with Argentina, with Germany, with France, instead of a very big, like everyone's in it, kind of almost like UN kind of thing. So we can
correct.
build like one-on-one strategic military alliance or trade alliance, and we can renew it every 10, 20 years like that.
Correct. And the influence that we would have with these other countries would just be greatly beneficial to them because there would be a free
Yeah,
country,
yeah,
no dictatorship, no, it would be a great republic for them that they could be free and elect their own free government
right,
and live free.
right. So by doing that, we can have like military alliance with Japan or even maybe Taiwan that would keep China at bay and not invade Taiwan. So because we do need their chips from TSMC. So that's one thing. But the TSMC we can talk about it. It's a whole separate topic again. So
Yes,
yeah,
yes. Okay. Well, I think that'll be enough for today. So thank
sounds
you
good.
again for being here and
Glad to
sure
be here.
appreciate it. Until next time, we'll all see you later. Thank
Yep.
you.
See you next time.